Welcome to the bold analysis, ladies and gentlemen. In this podcast, I want to speak about something very critical, and I want to go on record. Speaking along the shores of Indian Ocean, County 001, the county of Mombasa, I want to say Raila is headed in the path of self-destruction. And I know it is very regrettable that the political career of Raila Odinga, spanning for more than 40 years in the political space, is crumbling down because of a clique of people around Raila Odinga. After the AU, I went on record, I went live, and I said that the tragedy of William Ruto plotting the next move for Raila is going to be killed. Immediately after the State House meeting in Nairobi, after the State House meeting here in Mombasa, during that meeting, there were some papers, there was some notebook, of course, some presidential seal that was seen on top of the table by the time Ruto and Raila were meeting. I missed it by the time I did that analysis for the first time, but I saw it. There was a presence, a photo of Paul Mwangi, Raila Odinga's legal advisor, in the State House, Mombasa. And I did the analysis and said that Raila dodged the bullet because by that time, the decision was that by the time Raila arrived in Mombasa, they were supposed to sign some political deal. But of course, I think looking at the situation, he didn't want to rush. And so he stopped it at that time, rejected that move that time, but then went back to Kisumu. And what I want to tell you here, Raila Odinga seemed to be making a way to William Ruto's side, and it is a path on self-destruction.
Wale wanasemanga Baba is always right. This time round Baba will not be right. Na mimi nataka kumwambia Agwambo Raila, ukija kutuambia Ruto tosha, utajua disrespect ni nini for the first time. Na wale watu wanafikiri Raila bado akona numbers, nataka mjue Raila has lost a huge significant of followers. Kama alikuwa kona 7 million Kenyans, sahi labda amepoteza karibu 3 million. Ama hata 4. So situambie he has a significant amount of followers. Round hii ukija kutuambia Ruto tosha, for the first time in your political history, you will know what disrespect is. Because we are not going to follow you blindly anymore. And I want to tell my community, the Luos, don't be left aside in this history making. Other Kenyans have decided that 2027, they are going to hold hands to make history. To make someone one-term president. So don't be left aside. Because if you make a blunder of being left out, other Kenyans will hate you. Utaenda ofisini kutafuta kazi, watu wataangalia ID yako, wakuangalie sura, wakuambie get out. Utaenda mahali watu wamekusanyika wanapiga story, watu waangalie sura yako, wakuone kama traitor, wakuambie get out of this place. Because we are no longer going to say Baba is always right just because his hands are being given something. Hiyo hatuendi kufanya. We are not going to suffer for another 5 years just because Baba is happy. This time we are going to look at ourselves. What about us, the citizens? You hatuendi kufanya. So Baba, make the right decision. You better make the right decision. Mtashangaa round hii ODM hatutapigia watu wenye mtatuletea, kwa sababu we are no longer going to suffer for the next 5 years kwa sababu ya chama na kwa sababu ya Baba. We are not going to do it. So you better make the right decision. Oh. Nyi mnaona ni jokes. You better make the right decisions. Na kama mnataka hiyo chama tutawachia Luos. Sisi wengine, in fact, Mimi natoka huko, but I've already decided I'm not going to follow chama na baba blindly, not anymore. Nyinyi endeleni hapa kutuambia baba is always right. This time around is going to be wrong if he decides to join hands with Ruto. We are going to disrespect you. Hatutasema baba baba, no way. Those few people are remaining huko Nyanza wenye hawawezi fikiria ndio wataendelea na mababa is always right. Not everyone. Wakenya sasa wanataka kufungua macho na wapate good governance. Si mambo ya chama na baba is always right. Mimi nishawaambia. Kwani mtanipeleka wapi?
I like that gentleman. He's amongst the few people that speaks the truth and about the truth that needs to be spoken. After, by the time Raila landed in State House, Raila landed in Kisumu, was driven straight to his Riat residence in Kisumu. And in Riat, he hosted a delegation of Luo elders and Kisumu County leaders. The Kisumu County leadership was led by the interim party chairman, Professor Nyon'go, the Kisumu governor, the Speaker of the County Assembly, Elisha Oraro, Majority Whip Seth Kanga, and Paul Okeyo, who is the Kisumu County Coordinating Committee chairperson, and some other youth groups coming, some other youth leaders from Kisumu County. Raila is reported to have told the team that he met that they should prepare a ground for his grand announcement next week. And that announcement is struggling to convince the leadership of Kisumu to support amongst his choices. He did not say that is his choices, but amongst his choices of decisions going to make to work with William Samoei Arap Ruto. And I'm saying, number one, Raila can support Ruto, but the trigger cannot be that failed AU bill, that AU push. If that announcement is even made next week, Nyon'go warned Raila and has been maintaining his stand that it is premature to get into a deal with William Ruto. In fact, even a pre-election pact is normally signed 3 months to a general election. When was Azimio crafted? Some few months to a general election. If you look at even the TNA, you look at the Jubilee, even look at that Kenya Kwanza, they were formed by the time the country is jogging to the next election. But I did say that William Ruto is pushing for a premature deal with Raila Odinga at this critical time. And I want to tell you, whatever Raila will sign with William Ruto next week, if it is going to happen, if Raila chooses that path, it is not going to withstand the storm until 2027. I will explain that point more. Odinga is expected to be in Bungoma on Thursday to launch an ODM office, and after that, he will be received in Busia, have a breakfast in Otuma's residence, and then meet a national Western delegates conference in Busia on Friday. And of course, such meetings are supposed to happen across the country. Then from that time, he's supposed to make his announcement. But as we wait for that, the Central Management Committee of ODM is supposed to meet on Thursday, was supposed to meet on Wednesday, which was tomorrow. But we understand it has been postponed to next week on Monday. And it is part of that Central Management Committee is part of the leadership structure that is supposed to ratify the topmost decisions of the party. And if you ask me, there is nothing like topmost decisions. It is the decision of Raila Odinga. Raila was told by the youths he met that it is not an easy ride to convince the people to support Ruto, but he says all that is in the interest of the support base. is in the interest of people who support them in those regions. Nyon'go, who is amongst the attendees, says that move is likely to face a big backlash. And in real sense, Raila Odinga is destroying himself, as Ruth Ambogo says here.
Baba's predictability is eventually he will always try to be on the side of the people.
Correct.
And we, as the people who are currently in opposition, really pray that he remembers that he has always been on the side of the people. Because right now, the Baba we are seeing, we are surprised. Yeah, we are surprised to see a Baba who is in a regime with a government that clearly has zero concern and zero regard. Number one, for the lives of young people. Number two, for the freedoms that are guaranteed by the Constitution.
Which
Number
one?
three, for the social issues. Listen, for the social issues that affect Kenyans right now. We are having a crisis. We have a health crisis right now. We have an education crisis right now. We have 1,000,001 crises.
Ruth.
I don't even know the plural of crises that we are dealing with, which shows us Baba, for the first time in his predictable history of being on the side of the people, is against the people.
Ruth, let me help you.
So
let me help you. Let me help you. Let me help you.
The only thing that we can pray for is that at one point Baba will wake up and realize, I am no longer with the people.
No.
The people are also no longer with me.
No.
And let me tell you, for Baba, for him, Baba will always say, and we pray that he remembers that, you know what, the people come first. And for the truth of the matter of the Kenyan politics right now is, you might have been somebody who never really cared about the people. Then along the way, you found a Damascus moment. You might have been somebody who, for the first 2 years of you being in power, were preaching a shareholding government. Then you realized, you woke up and you realized that, you know what, this thing can no longer be a shareholding thing. Everybody deserves to be treated equally.
Correct. There I agree with you on the shareholding. I agree with you.
Exactly. And now,
so unless you're telling me Baba is going to join hands with somebody who believes in shareholding.
No,
where I want to help you. Where I want to help you.
She's basically saying he's not
I'm getting somewhere.
Okay.
That if Baba realizes that this person who once was setting traps and preaching shareholding suddenly realizes that, you know what, actually the people come first. Yeah, and is now speaking the language of the people, and is now consulting the people, and is now pushing the agenda of the people. And then here I am as Baba, who has always been doing this thing for all these years. I'm suddenly going the opposite direction. I hope the people around him advise him that if you continue that direction, that is not, if you continue joining hands with people who are not for the people will go against you.
Now let me tell you, and that is Kisumu, and Nyon'go, Sifuna and the other leaders had maintained their stand about ODM getting into such a premature pact. In Siaya, my governor James Orengo is laughing at Raila and asking Raila how he is endorsing, how he is allowing Ruto to give him direction, who was his opponent just like the other day. In fact,
Nikore manyisi kamedhiye jinga sana an Orengo nyaka wacha dieri kata ka piny omwomore ni kata kwantie ni okwantie to ji nopara ga dier ma wacho mane kaka we gik moko maber sani kirangore piny Luo ntiwa bunge moro ma kipenjo jomodongo sani ni ng'ane ne bunge tiwacho mano ng'ano to kilungo nying Mboya to giparo gisomo historia omiyo an mon wetena unayiga kodu kabisa kendo min wuod ng'ama dhako kaka Orengo jatieng' ipako na gi men ni wonya maya.
The direction that Raila wants to give the country, it's not his direction. It is the direction of William Ruto. It is William Ruto that has given him that direction. So, and I've listened to the president speaking in Kilifi. He's actually in the coast region here for some political tour. You would actually understand that what the president says is he's going to work with Raila. You don't know, some unity to achieve what. Orengo, in this statement, is speaking the Luo, but is laughing at Raila. That Raila wants to take directions. Someone who was his opponent is giving him directions. It is not going to work. And this is my stand. There is nothing absolutely wrong with Raila Odinga endorsing William Ruto as a person. But as a politician, the endorsement, I believe, on the side of President Ruto, and I did mention for you the objective of such a deal, the objectives of Ruto pushing for a rushed deal with Raila, there is no congruence, there is no conformity of ideology between Ruto and Raila in respect to that working relationship. There is no, they don't marry. The two don't marry for one reason or the other. What Ruto targets with the rushed deal is different from what Raila Odinga says. I must appreciate, and you must appreciate one point, that while ODM is now turning as the choir master for the party, for the ruling party, for the president. But one of the things that was also a foundation of ODM party was social justice. This is Brian Odhiambo, coming from Siaya. Brian Odhiambo was killed, and Kenya Wildlife Officers in Nakuru said they arrested Brian, and after he was arrested, they allegedly said he escaped custody and then he went missing. But the body was received some time back, and the family is seeking justice for them to receive the body. And you can now see that Boniface Mwangi is leading a protest in Nakuru fighting for Brian, while perceived Brian father is moving from one area to the other, saying the way people need to defend the president. And these are some of the things that don't add up. Raila is being blackmailed, and he seemed to have fallen for that blackmail. Of course, Orengo and Nyon'go have said that is a bad move. They've said it is premature, it's a bad move, it is just some sort of blackmail. So you can see that the problem is when you defend the state, when you defend them, you only have one side of it. As the opposition wing, you only have one side of what they are getting right. But which was the founding foundation of ODM, by the time Ruto is finishing his term, his first term, or he gets the second term, that ODM party might not exist. I know that it is imperative of Raila to make a choice that he's not going to vie for presidency, and he's already sent that signal. That is one thing, and if he makes this move, then I will tell Kalonzo regarding that, he should stop asking Raila to support him, that he should stop offering Raila the support that I'm willing to support Raila. Raila doesn't want to go to vie for presidency, because if he really wanted to vie for president, they will not get into such a deal. There would even be no room of such. But again, with this information, it is clear that Raila Odinga wants to give it a trial. Is not willing to give it a trial. So the opposition side of Karua, Kalonzo, and Rigathi, and Natembeya, and so, they must organize themselves to counter the two. But I've seen some of the things. There is an article by Kenyans.co. Ruto rolls out development projects in Raila's stronghold to bolster government influence. If you look at that article, there is nothing new. The projects they're talking about here is the long-stalled Koru Soin Magwanga dams that are also supposed to receive renewed attention, promising improved water supply and agricultural productivity. There is fast-tracking the establishment of fish processing plant and completing the Homa Bay modern fish market, expected to benefit 2,000 traders. There is upgrade of marine transport by rehabilitating piers in Kidu Bay, Mbita, and Asembo Bay. Launch of MV Uhuru is set to enhance transportation and boost economic activities in Lake Victoria. Affordable housing projects in Siaya, Kisumu, Migori, which is not exclusive to those counties. It is not a privilege, because affordable housing, I wonder where people get the power to say, you know, I'm going to launch in Siaya. No, that's public money. You're already taking money from people's payslip to build. So why is it packaged like a project of that you know I'm doing at people's masses? Sometimes you look at things and you wonder, what are politicians carrying people for? Because those are not projects that started yesterday. Those are projects that have been there, and it is public money. It is money collected from people's payslips, you know. So if I look at all this, I am not seeing anything compelling, anything new about that deal. But I know what they are not being told there is about some power sharing. I don't know, Luo to produce a deputy, so and so, and all that. Now, I want to explain my point this way. What is my interpretation of this move? What Raila claims as the claim on why he's supporting Ruto is weak. In fact, it was a lost cause. He vied for AU and then lost. So after losing, William Ruto used taxpayers' money to support his bid, which was to be done to any other candidate, even if it was not Raila, even if it were Kalonzo, even if it was Uhuru Kenyatta, whoever it was, the state had to fund because it is a Kenyan candidature. So it's a lost cause. That it's not compelling enough. I agree with those who've been saying, how about Kalonzo? Do you want to support Ruto because he supported his AU bid that you lost? And then you leave Kalonzo, who then supported your presidential bid for 15 years. If the endorsement is based on who supported Raila, you know. Now, one question that then emerges in all this is the support of let's support Ruto is based on individuals' interest. It was interest of Raila to go to AU. It was not the interest of all of us. Not all of us were going to AU. It was him. So where does this put the pertinent governance questions that have been raised against the Ruto regime? Where does this put the payslip question? Where does the SHA question comes in? Where does the education funding model comes in? Where does the corruption comes in? You know, where does the human rights, where does the abduction question comes in? And it seems to be just a blanket endorsement. Now, I want to tell Raila this. Even Ruto knows that even if he signs a deal with Raila now, that deal might not survive to 2027. So many things can happen. Between now to 2027, so many twists and turns can emerge. Dynamics are involved in it. But Ruto wants a ruling space. What Ruto understands is this, that if you have an idol Raila outside there, you may not have a breathing space. So Ruto is not entering into this premature deal with Raila for 2027 per se. But two things he wants to achieve. Number one, he will destroy the Raila relevance. He knows that the young people and a clique of a very good percentage of Kenyans are not going to support such a deal. They don't support him. So even if Raila endorses him, that endorsement is null and void. But then Raila relevance will be destroyed, that he cannot even rethink of the 2027 aspect. And of course, clearly, when rubber meets the road, when he realizes that even with Raila, I may not be able to get it. And from probably me, I say it's good. If Raila supports Ruto, let him support him early, so that people of Kenya know. People will decide. It will be early enough to decide whether this has worked or not. It's good, so that those projects in Nyanza, yes, tutajua kama within that handshake, within that framework, they have been achieved. But then, at opportune time, Ruto will even dump that Raila and pick Kalonzo or even go for it. The other thing is this. The revolting Raila constituency will clearly shrink with that move. I need to say this. The Raila in 2027 is not the Raila in 2007, is not the Raila in 2002, is not the Raila in 2013. It is not the Raila in 2018. It is not the Raila in 2022. The more we go to that election, that constituency is shrinking. You need to understand, in 2022, Raila Odinga, according to Chebukati, the late Chebukati, Raila Odinga was having 6.9 million. Now, if you do your math, you realize that 2 million from that vote came from Kalonzo. There is another close to 1 million which came from Mount Kenya. And then you had the Martha Karua constituency in all that, and Uhuru, and some blessings from Uhuru Kenyatta. There are also those who voted based on Uhuru Kenyatta, and that is not just Central Kenya. So if you remove Kalonzo's 2 million and Mount Kenya's 1 million, and some other, and the Karua factor, which was some of the women factor, which give him like some 500,000, you realize that Raila has a paltry 2 million votes, 2.5 million votes. The 2.5 million votes, William Ruto has lost a 3 million in Mount Kenya. And then William Ruto has lost some of his organic support base. Nearly a third, probably a half of his organic support base, especially in Nairobi. There are those who also won't vote for Ruto based on the fact that it's not work. And that number is also high. So the 2.5 million, let's say the 2.5 million covers the Mount Kenya. How about the votes that Ruto has lost because of William Ruto, because of the lies, because of the killing, because of Cha, because government has failed to live to its dreams? So this is a move that is not technical enough. If Raila wanted to reinvent himself after the Gen Z, he did the Gen Z, he did the move with after Gen Z and faced backlash. If he wanted to reinvent himself, this was not a decision to make at this time. Now, the president has colossal policy failures that can set you against the people. Probably, Odinga is taking that back. Thank you.